Welcome, friends. My name is Silas Ollegario, and I'm the host of Think Onward, a podcast about books, studies, productivity, and lifestyle. Now, after the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Think Onward. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in from Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube. In case you're following me on YouTube, Silas Ollegario, Ollegario with two L's. Okay. I'm glad you're here. Maybe you're some of the people that listen to this podcast that I have never met in my entire life. Maybe you're one of my friends. No, because I found out that I do have friends who listen to this podcast, and they kind of, maybe they're practicing their English. Maybe they're just listening every week just so they can say, oh my God, let's just follow Silas and his stuff, But it doesn't matter. I very much appreciate the fact that you're here. I know that some people do it. They listen to this podcast just so they can give me higher numbers. It's an example. Let me give you this example. My mom doesn't speak 10 words of English, but she does listen to every single episode of this podcast more than once. So she puts there on YouTube and she downloads on her phone and she listens to. She has no idea what I'm saying, she's just supporting. She thinks that's the mom's job, support her kids. So I can imagine that some people do this. All of you, dozens of people who listen to this podcast every week. So thank you so much for your support. I do appreciate it, because support doesn't matter the way the support is coming. What matters is that the support is coming. Like winter for Winterfell, support is always coming. And this episode, I don't know how long it's gonna take. I hope I can finish in time. For the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking too much about things I hope for the future, family-wise, professionally, etc. And although the last couple of years have been different than all of us have expected, because of what we've been through since the pandemic first hit us, I can now look back and realize that there's much more to thank than to complain. And of course, it's easier to complain. I'll give you that. Because as flawed human beings, we tend to look at what is being missing instead of what we actually have accomplished in life. Oh, I wish I could afford that car. It's easier to say than, thank God for this car I have, which takes me to places, I don't want to live a life like that. I don't want to be someone who complains about stuff instead of being thankful. But why am I saying all this? For a couple of weeks now, I've been noticing that reasons for complaining are raising. Raising or rising? I think it's rising, right? So these reasons have been rising. I've been feeling stuff that does not necessarily go hand in hand with the actual reality. I do have an amazing life. My wife is amazing. So is my family. I do have a comfortable place to live. And I enjoy things like recording an episode for my listeners at this podcast. I have access to all the books I want. Music plays in my ears every single day. Food on the table was never something I had to concern myself with. Connections. Maybe I've lost one or two friends over the last couple of years, but so many more friends have become an important part of my life. See? There's no reason to be mad or complain. But with that being said, I still feel like something is off sometimes. Maybe it's the fact that we've been waiting for this moving to Canada stuff for such a long time already. Maybe it's because medical school is upon me and that I will finally get to do what I have been dreaming about for the past 20 years. It's so weird being in a good place but not feeling 100% well. But that's okay, I think. Not feeling, I've learned that not feeling 100% in 100% of the time is not something we should have to apologize for. Nonetheless, I've noticed that it might be a way of me causing a distraction so I don't complete or finish or start other things I have planned. It's almost like I've been trying to feel in a different way. My entire environment is setting me just so I can boycott myself, you know? You know when you're not feeling 100% well because you're not trying to be 100% well. It's not because something's happening. It's just because you're putting your mind in something that shouldn't be there. So it's almost like you're giving yourself excuses not to accomplish something. Because some people have adversities happening in life. So it's difficult for them to achieve something because there are other things happening. But sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes everything is going in favor, but you still are not doing anything. And because I don't want to go, I don't want to have this risk, I said, you know what? Not anymore. I'm not going to be boycotting myself. I'm not going to try to feel not okay. Being conscious about what is really happening is a big part of the process of promoting change. And that's what I am doing right now. And this next thing I'm about to share with you, my amazing and overwhelming audience of dozens of people, is something I have had in my mind maybe for the past 10 years. I kind of said something to my wife some time ago. It's a smaller dream of mine. And when I say small, I don't mean that the project is small, but I'd say it's not something that it's going to have like 100% of my focus and time and effort, at least not in this moment. I wish to write a book. And let me stop for a second while you finish laughing at me. The fact that I enjoy books is nothing new. For you, if you are here every week, you know we like to talk about books in this podcast. So you're probably here because most of the episodes of this podcast are about the books I want to read, I have read, or wish to read in the future. However, writing a book is something completely different, right? Fantasy, productivity, 21st century fiction, you know. Look, I really don't know. That's the bottom line, is that I don't know what I'm going to write about. I do have some ideas already on paper, ideas of stories, inspirations, time periods, background, and so forth. I haven't, however, started any of these things. It's never too late to start something, you know, and as you have probably heard me say once or twice before, it's definitely not late at all when there's no deadline, you know, because, well, and while on this deadline thing, I guess I know why they kick off now that I'm been thinking. Will Smith, the actor Will Smith, in a partnership with YouTube, he released a YouTube original documentary about his final journey on completing his memoir. So for 20 weeks, we saw him trying to drop 20 pounds and deliver 20 chapters to the editors. I'm not trying to compare my life and my journey to his, but I do not have producers on my back. I do not have so many other things to share my attention with. And most of all, I do not have a deadline. If one of my favorite authors of all time, George R.R. Martin, can take years to finish writing a book, I can have absolutely the same luxury myself, you know. Of course, that's not the idea. I hate the fact that I still have to wait a couple of months, maybe, for the end of the story of Game of Thrones, but still. I want to be able to start something and finish in a reasonable amount of time. And the reason I am recording a podcast about this is for the same reason you guys already know. I like using this audience as my sponsors, as people say in AA, right? For accountability. Saying out loud, I believe that saying something out loud, recording, placing on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and etc., it makes it all real. And now I do have all of you, dozens of people, to expect something with me, and expect something from me. I always claim to be someone who strives under pressure. So nothing better to do, I think, with this no deadline project than telling people, it's on. And this is me telling you it's on. This time I'm also doing something different. I am telling anyone outside this podcast community what's going on. Because every time look, you guys know I'm trying to lose weight. Again, I hate to compare myself to Will Smith, but yes, I'm trying to lose a couple of pounds, more than a couple, okay? Trying to create this thing that I go to the gym more often, and I'm going to the gym after I post this podcast, like in a couple of minutes. And I like using you guys as my sponsors and my accountability place. I believe this is very, very important. But this time, I'm not about the book. I'm not telling anyone outside this community. Not even in a conversation. Just so we can have this ourselves. It is not because well, it might be a good way to inspire someone. That's it. It might be a good way to inspire someone to start something big or small, a big project or a small project they've been thinking about, but have no courage to do it. So here I am, a big nobody who simply decided that being afraid is not something I should be anymore. Because what's the point? Makes no sense for me being afraid of doing something that it's not. This is not my job. This is not my life. This is just something I want to pursue. And sometimes again, I like books, so sometimes I'm doing nothing. So I just scroll through Amazon to see the newest releases of books, and sometimes it's famous authors. You take famous authors of fantasy. So you get there George Martin, and then Stephen King and J.K. Rowling. So these guys. But then you get people that we've never heard before. Then you Google these people, and it's their first book. And sometimes a big hit, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they are smaller authors, and I just think it's something nice, so I can have in my life. It's not a memoir. I'm 32 years old. I've been through a lot of stuff, as everybody has. But I don't. It's not a. It's gonna. This I know is not gonna be my life story. Maybe I can use something in the background. The entire idea is writing something that is fictional, even if it's based on real events. That's not. It's not gonna. I'm not gonna be telling my own story. I'm not gonna be talking about something that really happened. Maybe only in the background. So I don't know if it's gonna be epic. When I say epic, I don't know if it's gonna be like 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago, like Game of Thrones. No, 277 AC. I don't know if it's gonna be like that. It's so difficult to write something like that because you kind of need to understand more about history. But I just want to have this. I think the creativity juices, they flow when you use something like this that you need to do some kind of research, and you need to pay attention. And I do have a lot of free time, and although I'm not again, I'm not 100% okay. I cannot find the reason why I'm not okay. So I don't want to use this not being okay as an excuse to stop me from doing things. So here's my message for you. Sometimes I have messages for you. I'm not trying to be someone who is a guru or someone who knows what they're talking about. I'm just here sharing my life, sharing my experiences, sharing my expectations about myself. But maybe for you, it's going to be something good, you know? I think if you have a project, you should start. You don't need to wait for 2022. It's November 17th, 2021 right now. You don't need to wait for next Monday or next month or even next year. You start now. You know, we should more and more be able to start something at the moment we decided to start. It's so much easier to waste time. And when you waste time, you waste perspective sometimes of where you are and what you're doing. I don't want to go. I don't want to look back in my life and, oh my God, all that time I was just wasting my time. Why didn't I do something? You know, that's not the life I want to have. That's not the kind of life I want to live. And I believe that if you're here listening to me, maybe you have something. You definitely do have something to share. You do have something to put out there. If it's writing a book, if it started, I don't know, maybe if it's going to the gym, maybe it's exercising more, or reading more, or writing that song, or playing that instrument, or calling that friend that you have been thinking for a long time but haven't found the time yet. Well, this is me telling you to start. Just go ahead and do it. Don't be a coward. Don't be someone who creates more reasons not to do something than reasons actually exist for you to do them. Yes, Anyway, that's it. In case you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, please like and share. Maybe consider subscribing. I don't know. And if you're catching this podcast from your podcast provider, share it as well. Let's make of this community a place of support where you can push people forward. Okay? Thanks so much for listening. Talk to you again next week. Bye.